living with an alien wasn't exactly what I expected when I signed up for the Intergalactic Exchange program. Sure, I had prepared myself for strange customs, awkward misunderstandings, and some wildly different biology, but nothing prepared me for what happened this morning. It started like any other day. My alien roommate, Rigger, a tall, luminescent being from Zydrax-7, was in the kitchen preparing breakfast, a colorful, bubbly mixture that reeked of ammonia, but was apparently quite tasty for his species. I was running late for work, so I hurried out of the shower and rushed to my room without realizing that I had forgotten to grab a towel. In my panic, I burst out of the bathroom stark naked, only to find Rigger floating there in the hallway. His glowing blue eyes widened, and his entire body flickered in shades of orangey, a sign of embarrassment. I would later learn. For a split second, we stared at each other, both frowning in shock. Then, Rigger made a series of high-pitched chirps, the Zydraxian equivalent of a shriek, and darted through the wall into his own room, phasing through it like a ghost. I quickly covered myself and thought that was the end of it, just an awkward moment that we'd laugh about later. Boy, was I wrong? Later that evening, Rigger approached me, his body still glowing faintly pink, which I knew meant he was nervous. "Human, I have something to confess," he said in his calm, almost melodic voice. I blinked. Sure, what is it?" "In Zydraxian culture," he began, "to see another being unclothed is a deeply intimate experience. It forms a bond, an unbreakable one." I felt my stomach drop. Wait, what? A bond? Yes, our species can share thoughts and emotions through such moments. I may have accidentally shared some of your feelings today. My mind raced. You what? I experienced your embarrassment, and also your attraction toward me, he admitted, his glow deepening to a darker pink. It was unexpected, but I believe we must discuss this. I frowned. See, sure, Rigger was kind of fascinating in his own alien way, but I had never really thought about him like that. Or had I? Being human meant that sometimes your thoughts ran wild, but this was next level awkward. "This is all just one big misunderstanding," I stammered. Rigger tilted his head, his glowing body flickering. "Perhaps, but now that the bond is formed, we must navigate this together. On Zydrax-7, such bonds lead to partnerships, a union, if you will." "What kind of union?" I asked, dreading the answer. "One that lasts a lifetime." That's where I realized this wasn't just some awkward encounter. My alien roommate had accidentally seen me naked, and now we were bonded for life. Would this change everything? Yes, but there was something oddly reassuring about the situation. Maybe, just maybe, having a lifetime bond with a glowing alien wasn't the worst thing that could happen. After all, humanity had always been about adapting, and if anyone could handle an alien relationship, it was me. Days passed after the incident, and life with Rigger took on an entirely different tone. He began to act differently around me, more attentive, more curious about human emotions. I, on the other hand, couldn't shake the awkwardness of knowing we were now bonded for life. The whole idea seemed preposterous to me just because he accidentally saw me naked. One evening, Rigger floated into the living room, where I was watching an old sci-fi movie. His glowing skin was the usual soft green, but I could feel his unease. He hovered near the couch, his hands nervously twisting. "Is everything all right, Rigger?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "I've been studying human customs regarding relationships," he replied carefully. "I wish to better understand how this bond affects you. It seems human bonds take time to develop. Is that correct?" I smiled, relieved that we were talking about this openly. "Yeah, that's true. We like to take things slow, get to know each other, build trust over time." Rigger's glow dimmed slightly. "Interesting. Zydraxians form immediate connections based on shared experiences and emotions, but I am willing to try the human way, if that is what you prefer." I blinked in surprise. "You don't have to do that, Rigger. I mean, I don't want you to change who you are just because I'm uncomfortable." "Uncomfortable?" His glow shifted to a soft pink again, signaling concern. "I have caused you discomfort." No, it's not that," I quickly said. "It's just, humans don't usually dive into a lifelong bond because of one incident. It takes time for us to process things." Rigger nodded slowly, absorbing my words. "Then we shall process, together." As strange as it was, his sincerity was kind of endearing. Over the next few weeks, Rigger made a real effort to learn more about human culture. He watched TV with me, though he was always baffled by the drama in our reality shows. We even started cooking together, well, more like I cooked, and Rigger tried to understand why we didn't enjoy ammonia soup. Through it all, the awkwardness faded into something different. Rigger's bond meant that he could sense my emotions, and in return, I began to understand him in ways I hadn't before. I could feel his curiosity, his fascination with Earth, and his genuine desire to be a good roommate, a good friend. But there was something more, something unspoken between us that neither of us knew how to address. One night, after a long day, we sat on the balcony, looking up at the stars. Rigger was glowing softly beside me, his usual common shade of blue. "Do you ever miss your home?" I asked, breaking the comfortable silence. "Every day," Rigger replied quietly, "but Earth has taught me much, and being here, with you, it feels less lonely." I glanced at him, surprised by the vulnerability in his voice. "I didn't know you felt lonely." We Zydraxians are not used to being so far from our kind. Our bonds keep us connected, even over great distances. But here, I have only you. I felt a pang of guilt. Rigger had crossed galaxies, left everything he knew behind, and now he was stuck with me, human who didn't even understand half of his customs. "You are not alone, Rigger," I said softly. "We're bonded, remember?" He turned to me, his glow shifting to a brighter blue. "Yes, and for that, I am grateful." For the first time since our strange bond had formed, I realized that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't something to fear. Rigger wasn't just my alien roommate anymore, was my friend, and perhaps this bond, strange as it was, could lead to something far deeper than I'd ever imagined. As the night grew colder, I leaned back in my chair, feeling a quiet sense of peace settle over me. Maybe humans and aliens weren't so different after all. Weeks turned into months, and what started as an awkward misunderstanding evolved into something I could never have anticipated. Rigger and I had adjusted to our bond in ways that were both subtle and profound. It wasn't just the fact that he could sense my emotions by now. I'd learned to tune into his as well. Our connection had grown into a silent, mutual understanding, one that transcended human and Zydraxian customs. But things were about to change again. One evening, while we were relaxing in the living room, the usual quiet hum of our apartment was interrupted by a sudden knock on the door. I opened it to find a tall figure standing in the doorway, clad in shimmering robes, eyes glowing the same brilliant blue as Rigger's. It was another Zydraxian. "Rigger," the figure said in a voice that seemed to vibrate in the air, "it is time." Rigger floated over, his glow shifting to an unsettling orange. "Time for what?" The Zydraxian visitor looked at me with a curious, almost pitying gaze before turning back to Rigger. "Time to return home. The council has called for your immediate recall." My heart sank. Return home, after everything we'd been through. "Rigger, what's going on?" I asked, feeling a knot from in my stomach. Rigger hesitated, his glow dimming. "In our culture, we Zydraxians are called back to our homeworld when our mission is complete. It is the way of things. But what?" I could feel a surge of panic rising. "I don't want to leave." His words were simple, but they carried the weight of our bond, of everything we had shared. "Earth has become my home too. You have become my home." I didn't know what to say. The thought of him leaving, of losing this bond we had developed, was unbearable. The other Zydraxian, however, didn't seem moved by the emotional weight in the room. "The council will not accept excuses. Rigger, you have duties to fulfill." Rigger floated closer to me, his glow a soft pink, a rare color I had come to understand as affection. "I cannot leave," he said softly, his voice almost pleading. "Not without you." I blinked, taken aback. "What do you mean?" Rigger turned to the visitor, his tone firm. "If I am to return, the bond must be completed. I request permission to bring my human with me." The visitor's glowing eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. A human cannot survive on Zydrax -7. The environment alone would destroy them." "I will find a way," Rigger insisted, his glow intensifying. "We are bonded. Our connection is stronger than you realize. I will not break it." I stood there, speechless. Rigger wanted to take me with him, to another planet, I could barely wrap my mind around the idea, but a part of me, deep down, felt an unexpected thrill. Life on Earth had always seemed so ordinary, but with rigor, I had experienced things beyond imagination. Could I really give that up? I don't know if I can go, I stammered, looking between the two of them. It's a whole different world, Rigger. You won't be alone, Rigger said, his voice gentle but firm. I will be with you every step of the way. Our bond will ensure your safety. The visitor shook his head, clearly unimpressed. You are risking everything for a human. The council will not approve of this. Rigger's glow flared, now a brilliant shade of defiance. Let the council say what they will. I choose my path. There was a long, tense silence. Finally, the visitor sighed, his glow dimming to a dull blue. Very well, Rigger. I will convey your decision to the council. But know this, if you bring the human, you will never return to Earth. This bond you cherish will be irreversible. You will be bound together for life, no turning back. Rigger looked at me, his glowing eyes filled with both hope and uncertainty. The choice is yours, he said softly. My heart raced. I thought about all I would leave behind me, job, my friends, my life on Earth. But then I looked at Rigger. This strange, glowing alien had become more than just a roommate. He had become part of my life, and the thought of losing him felt like losing a piece of myself. I'll go, I said, surprising even myself with the certainty in my voice. I'll go with you. Rigger's glow shifted into a radiant, shimmering pinkish version of a smile. Then we go together. And with that, my ordinary life on Earth ended. I didn't know what awaited me on Zydrax-7, but one thing was certain, this bond, strange and alien as it was, had become the most important thing in my life. Together, we would face whatever challenges lay ahead, in a galaxy far beyond my wildest dreams. Leaving Earth wasn't as easy as I had thought. In the days leading up to our departure, I had to say goodbye to the life I had always known, my job, my friends, even my favorite spots in the city. All of it would soon be just memories. But I wasn't alone. Rigger stood by me, his glow constantly shifting between soft blues and reassuring pinks, reminding me that our bond was something unique, something worth leaving everything behind for. The day finally came. We stood together in a secluded area outside the city, far from prying eyes. The Zydraxian visitor whom I had come to know as Velk activated a shimmering portal that hung in the air like a curtain of light. My heart pounded in my chest as I took one last look at Earth's sky. Are you ready? Rigger asked, his voice calm yet filled with the weight of the moment. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied, taking a deep breath. With one final nod, we stepped through the portal. The sensation was unlike anything I had ever experienced. One moment, I was standing on solid ground, and the next, I was weightless, floating through a tunnel of stars and swirling colors. I could feel Rigger's presence beside me, our bond acting like a tether, keeping me grounded as we hurtled through space and time. And then, with a jarring sense of stillness, we emerged on the other side. Zydrax-7. The first thing I noticed was the sky. It was a deep shade of violet, streaked with bands of gold and silver clouds. There was thin but breathable, carrying a faint metallic scent. The landscape was unlike anything on Earth. Towering crystalline structures rose from the ground, shimmering in the light of twin suns. Strange, iridescent plants dotted the surface, and in the distance, I could see creatures, some floating, others gliding gracefully across the alien terrain. This is incredible, I whispered, overwhelmed by the beauty of it all. Rigger floated beside me, his glow a proud shade of gold. Welcome to my home. Despite the breathtaking surroundings, there was something surreal about being here in Earthling, on a planet millions of light years away. But as strange as it was, I felt a deep sense of belonging, as if this world was welcoming me in its own way. Velk, who had remained mostly silent during the journey, stepped forward. You will need to adjust quickly. The council has already been informed of your arrival. Rigger, you will be expected to present your case for remaining here with the human. Rigger's glow flickered with determination. I understand. As we made our way toward the Zydraxian city, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and fear. What if the council didn't approve? What if they forced Rigger to leave me behind? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the shimmering city ahead. The city was like nothing I had ever seen. It was built into the crystalline structures, with transparent walkways winding through the air. connecting floating platforms and tall, glowing spires. Zydraxians floated everywhere, their colorful glows casting a soft light over the city. As we passed by, they glanced at me with a mixture of curiosity and surprise. We finally arrived at the council chamber, a vast, open space at the heart of the city. Inside, 5 towering Zydraxians, each glowing with a different hue, stood in a semicircle, their gazes fixed on us. The air was thick with tension. Rigor of Zydrax -7, one of them began, his voice deep and resonant. You have returned, but not alone. Rigor floated forward, his glow steady. No, Council, I return with my bonded human. The Council exchanged glances, the glows shifting subtly. This bond is unprecedented. Bringing a human here defies our laws. Explain yourself. Rigor's glow brightened. The bond we share is not merely accidental. Through it, I have come to understand that humans and Zydraxians are not as different as we once believed. This human, through our bond, has shown me the capacity for great emotional depth, courage, and loyalty. I ask that you allow them to remain here with me. The council members murmured among themselves, their colors shifting in thought. Finally, the leader spoke again. The bond may be strong, but it does not change the fact that humans are fragile creatures. Zydrax -7 is no place for such beings. I stepped forward, my heart racing. I may be fragile compared to Zydraxians, but Rigor is right. We formed a connection, one that has changed both of us. I'm willing to adapt, to learn, to be a part of this world. I didn't come here lightly. The council studied me with their glowing eyes, and for a long moment, no one spoke. Then, one of them floated forward, his glow a soft, contemplative green. Perhaps this bond is a sign of something greater. If Rigor believes in its strength, then perhaps we must trust in it as well. The leader of the council hesitated before nodding slowly. Very well, the human may remain, but understand this: if their presence endangers our world in any way, the bond will be broken, and they will be sent back to Earth. Relief washed over me, and I turned to Rigor, who was now glowing a radiant gold. Thank you, I whispered, barely able to contain the flood of emotions. Rigor nodded, his glow softening. Together, we will make this work. As we left the council chamber and stepped back into the bright alien city, I realized that my life had changed in ways I never could have imagined. I was no longer just a human living on Earth. I was part of something much bigger, something beyond the stars. And as I walked through the alien landscape beside my glowing friend, I knew that this was only the beginning of our journey. The days following the council's decision were a whirlwind of adjustments and revelations. Life on Zydrax -7 wasn't just about surviving in a strange, alien world. It was about learning how to thrive in it. I had traded Earth's blue skies for Zydrax's glowing atmosphere and its twin suns, and as beautiful as it was, it felt like living inside a dream. But I wasn't alone. Rigor was with me every step of the way, and together we began to carve out a new life. The bond between us had only grown stronger after the council's approval. Our connection, once an accidental byproduct of a fleeting moment, had evolved into something deep, something undeniable. I could sense Rigor's emotions more clearly, know his curiosity, his joy, and even his doubts, and in return, he could feel my determination to make this place my home. Are you sure you're comfortable with all of this? Rigor asked one evening as we looked out over the crystal city. The light from the twin suns bathed the landscape in a surreal, golden glow. I turned to him, smiling, more than I thought I would be. It's strange, but I feel like I belong here now. He flickered with a soft pink glow. You've adapted faster than any human I could imagine. I wasn't sure you'd be able to handle the gravity shifts, the air density, but you've proven me wrong. I chuckled. I guess humans are more adaptable than we seem. Rigor tilted his head, his glow shifting to a contemplative green. There's something I haven't told you. The bond we share is evolving. I can feel it deepening, and soon, you may begin to experience things beyond just my emotions. What do you mean? He hesitated for a moment before continuing. In time, you may gain access to some of the abilities of my species, telepathy, possibly even the ability to phase through solid objects as I do. It's rare for a bond like ours to form, but when it does, it can change both parties in unexpected ways. My mind reeled at the thought. You mean I could phase through walls, read minds? Rigor's glow brightened. Potentially, yes, but it's a gradual process. and it may not happen immediately. Zytraxians develop these abilities over time, and since you're human, it could take longer. I stared at him in disbelief. My life had already been turned upside down, and now I was being told that I might develop alien abilities. It was a lot to process, but in a strange way, it didn't feel impossible. After all, I was standing on another planet, light years away from Earth, bonded to a glowing alien. Anything seemed possible now. As the days passed, I began to notice subtle changes. It started with small things, being able to sense Rigger's thoughts without him speaking, a feeling of heightened awareness in my surroundings, even a slight ability to influence objects from a distance. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. One evening, Rigger took me to a secluded part of the planet, far from the Crystal City. We stood at the edge of a vast, shimmering lake, its surface reflecting the strange colors of the sky. The air was still, almost electric, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. "This place is special to me," Rigger said quietly, his glow soft and steady. "It's where I came to reflect before I left for Earth. It's where I found clarity." I looked out over the water, feeling the weight of his words. "Why did you want to bring me here?" "Because I believe this is where your transformation will begin." I turned to him, my heart pounding. "Transformation?" He nodded. "The bond has reached a point where your human limitations are starting to fade. You may not fully realize it yet, but soon, you will. I wanted you to be in a place of peace when it happens." The air around us seemed to hum with energy, and I could feel something inside me shifting. It was as if the bond between us was calling to something deeper, something hidden within me. I closed my eyes, focusing on the strange sensation. And then, it happened. It started as a faint tingling sensation in my hands, growing stronger with each passing second. I opened my eyes and gasped as I saw my fingers shimmering, fading in and out of visibility. My heart raced as the sensation spread through my body, my whole being flickering like Rigger's glow. I can't believe this," I whispered, watching as my form began to phase, just like Rigger. "You're doing it," Rigger said, his voice filled with awe. "You're accessing the bond's full potential." I focused harder, willing myself to remain visible, but the more I tried, the more my body shifted. I felt myself sinking into the ground, not through the dirt but into it, like I was becoming one with the planet itself. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Rigger reached out and took my hand, his touch steady me. "Don't fight it, let it happen, the bond will guide you." I closed my eyes again, surrendering to the strange sensation. Slowly, the phasing began to stabilize, and I felt myself solidify once more. When I opened my eyes, everything around me seemed sharper, more vivid. The colors of the planet, the sounds of the strange creatures in the distance, even Rigger's glow, it all felt more alive, more connected. I did it, I breathed, looking down at my hands, which were now completely solid. Rigger's glow shifted to a deep, radiant pink. "You did, this is just the beginning." As I stood there, at the edge of an alien lake, on a planet far from Earth, I realized that my life would never be the same again. I had left behind everything I knew, but in return, I had gained something far greater, a bond that transcended worlds, a friendship that defied the boundaries of space, and now, a new power that would take me on a journey beyond anything I could have imagined. This was only the start of something incredible. Together, Rigger and I would explore the vastness of the universe, bound by a connection that no force in the galaxy could break. Our journey had just begun,